Allowing the Renaissance to thrive, women maintained the male-dominated society through performing the expected maternal duties, childbearing and honouring their husbands. Particularly wealthy noble women were able to effectively subvert the patriarchal society and engage in the Renaissance, such as Laura Chierita and Lucrezia Tornabuoni de' Medici. Partial subversion was also achieved through the protection of women's dowry and the matter of bequests, having the ability to influence economic decisions and the behaviour of their spouse. Upholding the Republic and allowing the growth of the Renaissance, women served the state through producing heirs, educating their children, and supporting their husband. Barbato's popular manuscript on wifely duties expresses the expected duties of a wife, determining how they should perform in order to maintain the patriarchal society. His literary work based off ancient Greek classics was integrated into the humanist culture. Shaping women's roles in society, Barbato's manuscript coincides with the Church playing a powerful role in determining women's position in the patriarchy. The Christian perspective of marriage asserts male superiority, conscribing males to instruct, correct, cohabit, and support their wives. Subscribing to the subordinate role, women were expected to respect, serve, and obey their husband. The Church, being a powerful mechanism in shaping women's roles in society, I believe confirms that women did not engage in this cultural revolution. Similarly, Barbato embraces the secondary status of women, expecting them to always be in agreement and to follow the wishes of their spouse. Demonstrating that women were generally considered an inferior gender and used to adversely strengthen the male-dominated nature of society, represents how this gender imbalance is both retained in a public and private sphere. Reproducing heirs to maintain lineage was a fundamental purpose of women. Attempting to enforce sumptuary laws, the women's official group reiterated the primary function of women was to replenish this free city. Maintaining the vitality of the patriarchal framework, women engaged in a cycle of pregnancies as noble women produced heirs for the state. Fathers dreaded having daughters which lacked intrinsic worth, and the dowry only served to produce financial burden. Therefore, the general consensus appeared to perceive women as incompetent and primarily a tool to maintain the male lineage. Being educated from an early age in a convent, followed by the basic teachings of Latin, Greek, and mathematics by her father, Laura Chierita continued her humanist education after the death of her husband. Despite facing criticism from male humanists, she was able to publish a series of scholarly works focusing on eliminating the stigma of women engaging in humanist education and the interpersonal aspects of marriage. Actively participating in humanist education and getting her scholarly work published represents how women had the ability to access the movement. Nevertheless, the cynical and condescending attitude by other humanists towards Chierita underscores the disrespect faced as a result of failing to conform with the common belief that women were imperfect men and walking wombs. Her letter, Curse Against the Ornamentation of Women, reflects her critical view of the expected role of women in society and the materialism which has made people vain. Arguing that virtue exceeds the brilliance of beauty, Chierita underscores the social pressures faced by women, an artificial nature which has infested society. Thus, Chierita brings to light the problematic weakness of women in society, condemning social mores and undermining the male supremacy. Contrary to Barbato's manuscript, where a marriage involves women supporting their husband and attending to his needs, Chierita emphasises the importance of equality in marriage, mutual love, communication, and duty. Chierita does not adhere to the superiority of men within a relationship, but rather impedes the dominance through her views of a balanced relationship. Similarly, wealthy and fortunate Lucrezia Tornabuoni de' Medici was one of few noble women who engaged in business enterprises after the death of her spouse, Piero di Cosimo. Embarking on establishing a public bath business in Volterra, Lucrezia effectively spread her patronage network and emerged as a successful businesswoman. Success in both of these women in departing from the traditional passive role of women and engaging in the public sphere of the Renaissance is attributed to their fortunate social standing and educated upbringing. Their ability to escape the captivity of marriage and become widows has allowed these women to engage in untraditional roles, thus subverting the male-dominated society. Furthermore, despite the expectations of noble women to embrace the household role while men earned an income, women were entitled to a dowry, which gave them some influence in financial affairs. The Venice legal system protected the women's rights towards matters such as financial entitlements. For example, transactions could be made by women without her husband's consent. Therefore, despite confined to the dowry, women did have partial economic freedom, hence deeming them not completely powerless against the patriarchal order. Dowries could be used for investment in family businesses, for widows to support themselves, and financial assistance in the household. Although importance of women's dowry rights were assured to maintain the patriarchal lineage system of the Republic, women were granted some control over how the monetary reward was spent, maintaining lineage that the kin would provide their wives with a yearly income and or property under the bequest, ensuring they would not remarry to prevent stepchildren impeding their lineage. Similarly, women were able to use their dowry to influence economic decisions of males. For example, on the condition that he would free himself from his debts, widow Agnesia passed down her estate to her son Vittor. Thus, women's dowries and male interest in retaining their lineage advertently gave women power in regulating male activity. The male-dominated society is penetrated through laws which guarantee women's rights to influence economic decisions through the dowry. Although limited, it could give them some access to invest in business and influence household decisions. Attaching income and property in their will to prevent their wives from remarrying indirectly allowed women to exert a form of behaviour control over their counterpart, proving the incentive for males to maintain good relations with their wives. Although rigid, the patriarchal system was embedded in the humanist culture, causing noble women to be excluded from taking part in the movement. Wealthy, educated women could subvert the system, however, and the dowry system did allow women partial control over their spouses. The male-dominated society was enforced in the Renaissance period.